In this ever-changing world, it is so important that institutions continue to evolve to serve the needs of their students, staff, and communities. Many are coming up with truly innovative ways to address the array of challenges facing higher education. That is why Fidelity Investments is so proud to support the ACE Fidelity Investments Institutional Transformation Award. A large number of high-quality, deserving applicants and nominations were submitted for this award. We applaud all the schools who make such great efforts to transform themselves. This year, in the category of institutions with more than 5,000 students, we recognize Amarillo College. This year, in the category of institutions with up to 5,000 students, we recognize Dominican University of California. On behalf of ACE and Fidelity Investments, congratulations, President Lowry Hart and Amarillo College. Congratulations, President Marcy and the Dominican University of California.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ted Mitchell, the president of the American Council on Education, and it's my honor to present this year's Institutional Transformation Awards to two forward-thinking institutions in the higher education landscape. In recognition of the need for innovation and creativity in responding to today's many higher education challenges, the ACE Fidelity Investment Award for Institutional Transformation was established 6 years ago to recognize colleges and universities that have successfully managed their institutions' resources to achieve dramatic and innovative changes, particularly in the area of student success. ACE is grateful to Fidelity Investments for supporting ACE in this recognition of innovation and for its long-standing support of ACE, our programs, and higher education institutions across the country. As we all know, in this ever-changing world, it's very important for institutions to evolve to serve the needs of their students, their staff, and their communities, never more so than right now. Many of you in the higher education world are coming up with truly innovative ways to address the array of challenges facing higher education. And a large number of high quality, deserving applications and nominations were submitted for this year's award, and I imagine the same will be true for next year. We applaud all of the schools who make such great efforts to transform themselves in service of our students. But it's a particular honor today to announce the institutional award winners to two incredibly deserving institutions and to honor their presidents for the work that they have done in their leadership roles. There are two categories for the Institutional Leadership Awards, one in the category of institutions with more than 5,000 students. And in that category, we'd like today to honor and congratulate Amarillo College in Amarillo, Texas. It's a community college and also designated as a Hispanic serving institution. In 2014, the college utilized secret shoppers drawn from the student body, focus groups, and survey data to identify challenges that their students were facing. And they found, as many of us would understand, that the barriers were less so academic than they were social and personal. Financial barriers, for example, were major sources of dislocation for students and interruptions in their studies. We'll discuss in a moment how Amarillo established a dynamic 5-year strategic plan, but No Excuses 2020, that plan, had a clear vision aiming at a 70% completion rate. And students were empowered to set the values of the college, which gave rise to the A to C Culture of Caring, the AC Culture of Caring initiative. Over 5 years, Amarillo saw a 75% growth rate in first-generation student graduation, a 64% growth rate in Pell graduation, and increases in student course passage rate, including a 110% increase for Hispanic students and a 112% increase for Black students. Now that's student success. This process was led by President Russell Lowry Hart, who took office in 2014 after 4 years as Vice President of Academic Affairs. Congratulations, President Lowry Hart, And congratulations to Amarillo College for its extraordinary achievement.
Thank you so much. It's an honor.
The second category is institutions whose enrollment is under 5,000 students. And today, we recognize Dominican University of California for the transformation that Dominican has achieved over the last several years to also increase student success, student persistence, and the diversity of the student body. Like many small independent colleges and universities, Dominican has faced changing student demographics and financial pressures in recent years. Despite this, Dominican was able to head off these challenges and thrive. Recent innovations include a comprehensive faculty-led overhaul of the entire curriculum that redesigned coursework for student success in college and beyond. The establishment of the Dominican Experience, which ensures that every student receives personalized coaching, takes part in community engagement, completes signature capstone work, and develops a digital portfolio. As a result of these and other innovations, Dominican has seen a 94% increase in four-year graduation rates over the past 8 years, not a typo, an increase of nearly 30% in the ethnic diversity of the student body since 2011, and a doubling of annual non-tuition revenue built from new partnerships and creative outreach. Dominican's president, Mary B. Marcy, has led the university since 2001. She's published extensively in the ways in which private colleges are adapting to the rapidly changing higher education landscape. And President Marcy, we're delighted to have you here today, delighted to honor you for your leadership and your work in Dominican University for the institutional transformation that has led to such breathtaking student success.
Thank you, Ted. It's really an honor to be here, and I'm thrilled to be sharing this award with my colleague from Texas.
Great. Well, we're really thrilled. And Mary, while you're on the screen, if you wouldn't mind telling us a little bit about the journey that Dominican has been on that you've been leading for the last several years, and then Russell will turn over to you.
Sure. I think you really captured when we talk about institutional transformation, maybe the emphasis as much as on institution as transformation, because the faculty, the staff, and the community here has just been remarkable in embracing the challenges and the opportunities that come with a rapidly changing environment and rapidly changing student body. And when I arrived in 2011, we had a diverse student body. We'd grown. We were trying to catch up with them a little bit. And the students really led us, and we learned a lot about what their needs were and what could make us more effective. Out of that conversation, we realized, also looking at the larger environment, that first generation students, highly diverse students, are also highly motivated, but we need to adapt to them to help them succeed. If higher education is actually going to be the great equalizer, we have to meet students where they are and create that opportunity for them. And that's really been at the center of everything we've done. The innovation has come not through just brand new ideas, it's actually come from implementing the work that we know can make a difference for these kinds of students. So that Dominican experience is not something students can pick up along the way if they happen to have time. It's not something that students do if they're not working and they're not distracted. Every student, before they graduate, has all four of those experiences, because we know those are experiences that are going to make a difference in student success. Similarly, the curriculum transformation was really designed to streamline and update our curriculum, building on our faculty's expertise and making room for the Dominican experience.
Great, thank you, Mary, and thanks for the continuing work. I know that you're never one to rest on your laurels, and we'll get back to that in a moment. Russell, meeting students where they are and having the institution shape itself around students has really been your MO as a leader. Tell us a little bit about how you put the strategic plan together and how you're proceeding.
Well, I love what Mary's done at Dominican University, because it mirrors so much of what our Reformation has been about. Knowing who our student is, understanding her, listening to her, empowering her to frame and redesign the higher education experience, and then committing for every employee and faculty at the institution to loving her to success. And our transformation started with really acknowledging who she was. And we had a General Assembly and Data Summit where we introduced our typical student. We named her Maria, and she's first generation college student that is a Latinx female who's raising 1.2 kids, working 2 part-time jobs with real financial struggles, but she's smart and ambitious and capable. But so often her inability to complete was because of the barriers that we were putting in her way, but we were really adept at blaming her for her own failures. So we empowered her to tell us what the perfect college looked and felt like to her, and then rebuilt ourselves around that. And so the No Excuses 2020 plan acknowledged that if students failed, our community could not afford economically, if socially, the failures that we were experiencing, and that we had to take ownership of failure, and we could not use any excuses for it. So if a student failed, it's because we didn't have the right person, policy, or process in place to ensure that we could love her to success. That meant real transformation in our institution. And our theory of change has driven that. Our theory of change is threefold: that if we can remove a life barrier, so we have hired social workers and put robust social service systems in place, in an accelerated learning environment where we've adapted almost 85% of our classes to an 8-week accelerated format, removed DevEd completely, and embraced required tutoring in all of our classes, in a culture of caring where Maria is empowered, seen, heard, and loved, that she will complete. And that's what's happened. That's been the foundation of our transformation, all based on loving the student we have rather than the student we wished we had, or the student that we were when we experienced higher education ourselves. And it's dramatically changed the completion rates of our institution, but it's also dramatically improved the education attainment rates in our community, which is ultimately what is going to save our local economy.
That's great. That's great. And loving our students to success. Now
Yeah.
there are words to live by, and words to remind everyone at our institutions. And it certainly is one that I know is as vibrant a message, meaningful one at Dominican University as it is at Amarillo College. So no surprise that the two of you share that and so much else as we honor you today. For those of you who are watching online, it's the second week of August, the plague year of 2020, and if we needed innovation in higher education, it's now. And so to put both Mary and Russell on the spot a little bit, you've made great progress, great success. You've established sort of a moral compass for the institutions, but boy, have you been challenged in the last few months. Challenged by the pandemic, challenged by the inequities that the pandemic has made blindingly clear, or flashingly clear to all of us, and then more recently by the sort of explicit and necessary attention to issues of racial justice that continue to inform public debates. So fast forward to today, what have you been doing at your institutions to help innovate your way in the light of the multiple simultaneous crises that we find ourselves in? Russell, what you been up to?
There are probably three or four things that give me hope that we can survive and manage and actually maybe even improve as a result of this pandemic. When we went into our initial shelter in place, I think we got a lot of grace from our students and from our community, and we fought hard to continue to love our students to success. I don't think we get the same grace this fall. So we can't just be decent at an educational system that is dramatically different than the one we started the academic year with. And so for us, we collected all of the federal grant money that we had that wasn't able to be spent, got permission to redirect that to faculty development, and we paid each of our full-time faculty $4,000 to become exceptional online learning facilitators, so that when we engage in those modalities this fall, we can assure our students that our learning systems honor them rather than just make a pass at learning. It centralizes learning. The second thing that I think has been really critical for us is a deep commitment to maintaining that culture of caring. So when we know who Maria is, and we know how relational she is and how worried she is for her family, not just for her own education. So if you walked on our campus, we have systems in place that immediately connect with our students. We had to translate that to an online modality. So every one of our employees took 5 to 10 students and they called them every week just to check on them, to make sure that they were connecting, that they had the technology and resources they needed, and to make sure they were okay, both mentally, physically, and intellectually. What that fundamentally did is, in a COVID world, we actually increased our student success the second 8 weeks and decreased our drops and withdrawal rates. And I think that speaks to the relational element that we tried to build. And I think the third thing is, in a shelter in place where everything was shut down, we kept one building open because we know Maria needed access to technology. And even if she had it at home, didn't have the access to the broadband. And so I physically, for 15 weeks, moved my office to the Ware Student Commons Circle desk. I took student temperatures. I helped them log on to their computer, but a handful of our employees ensured that even in a pandemic where we're sheltering in place, that we could safely ensure students completed their education. And I learned a lot about their resiliency and a lot about the magic of the employees that work at this amazing institution.
It certainly emphasizes the community in community colleges, and
Yes.
both internal to the community, the academic community, but also connecting with the realities of the lived experience of your students. So thanks, that sounds great. Mary, Dominican's in a slightly different situation, but no less of a commitment to student success.
Yeah, absolutely. Slightly different environment, but I think that what I'm hearing Russell talk about is the innovations and the work that we've embraced the last few years gives us a through line. We know we're very clear about our mission. We're very clear about who our students are. And so then the question is not what do we do, it's how do we adapt what we must do for this new environment. And so we have some similarities in the sense that we had an enormous amount of faculty development work this summer, trying to adapt. We've taken a lot of our programs, student support programs and integrated programs online. So it's not just classes online and then good luck to you. And one of the things that I think has happened in the last few years, and I give the faculty and staff enormous credit for this, is that we've become a genuine learning organization. So there's a lot of let's ask students how this is going last spring. And then this summer, we've done a lot of updating and evolving. So and I wholeheartedly agree with Russell, we're not going to have the same experience we had last spring. We will be partly in person, largely online when we start this fall, and we're going to follow the dictates of public health after that. Couple of things I might add, just because I think, Ted, you're absolutely right. There's not one issue. There's three kind of interlocking issues, right? So there's the core issue of health and safety. So I know more, and everybody else does too, about every nook and cranny of this campus and air circulation, and we say we're all public health officers now somehow. So that hard work and new work, people really embraced over the summer. The second, I think, big concern and big issue is obviously the financial pressures that come with the pandemic. I mean, Dominican is innovative partly because we need to be. There's nothing to fall back on in terms of, you know, deep pockets as an institution. So we need to adapt and meet the moment. You know, what we're thinking about financially is what's the difference between a one-time hit because of the pandemic and what's going to be ongoing, and how do we adapt to the ongoing and manage the one-time in a way that's financially responsible for the institution. So we're actually kind of framing our financial approach in that way. It also allows us, you know, what I think I know as a political scientist, not a psychologist, about dealing with challenges and even dealing with trauma, is that even if you don't know when it's going to end, you need to have some hope about where it's going and where you're going. And so we've built a lot of programs, yes, but we also have a lot underway, and we're not going to let go of those. And so we're talking about even those fledgling things. How do we carry them through and make sure that you know, we launch some new programs next fall, that the ones that are just starting this fall have a chance to blossom. And that, I think, is also helping carry us through. But at the end of the day, it's very much about, we're about student success. We're about student success for students who look like California, which means they look like the future of the country. You know, well over half are students of color, first gen, Pell eligible. If they're successful, we're successful. So how do we meet them where they are now?
Ted, Mary said something I think was really important. I think our institutions trained ourselves to be prepared for this moment by innovating through other crises, so that when this one came, it wasn't an abnormal experience. We were ready for, because we had trained for it, not knowing that it was a pandemic that was coming. And I think that there's always going to be crises. It may not be a pandemic, but there's always going to be something that demands us to rethink ourselves. And the better we are and the more nimble we are in shifting, the better we'll be prepared for what's coming in the future, whether it's financial, racial justice, health crises. The crises aren't going away. So we've got to be really adept as institutions in adapting to them.
I think that that's a great note to end on, is that innovation is not magic. There is a muscle that is attached to being able to engage the community in a way that allows them to think beyond the usual, to respond to real and pressing needs. And I think what both of you have demonstrated at Dominican and at Amarillo is the ability not only to innovate in response to crisis, but to build a muscle around innovation that will serve the institution. And so for those who are watching and wondering, how do I do that? I think you start where you start. What are the problems that need to be solved? What are the tools that we have to solve them? And how can we work together as a community to build actionable agendas around that? You have both done that. It's an honor to honor you today with this award. And we wish you all good luck, all good health over the course of the next year. And I'm sure that there will be plenty of people in your email inbox looking for advice and counsel. We, as your students, are in very good hands with you at the helm. Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Russell. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you for the great leadership from ACE through. It's been essential for all of us.
Thank you.
Very much so.
Thanks.